Huh? What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Ogre Boy and I'm going to be doing my review for the 2010 movie Iron Man 2. So in this movie, now that Tony Stark has let the world know that he's Iron Man, he is having to deal with people wanting to steal his technology, including Ivan Vanko, who is also known as Whiplash, who wants to steal it because he feels like Tony's father wronged his father and is wanting revenge. And then you have Justin Hammer, who is a competitor and weapons designer who's wanting to get his hands on this Stark technology. And there's also a couple other subplots in this movie where you got Tony meeting with Nick Fury, where they're planning on or trying to set up the Avengers movie that's coming, and they also have a subplot where Tony is battling his alcohol addiction and is also dying because of the arc reactor in his chest, and he's trying to figure out a way to stop it from killing him and everything. So you got those subplots too. Plus there's also a little one with Pepper wanting to trying to control everything and getting used to being the new CEO of Stark Tech. So there's that too. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this movie. And I think it balances it okay. I don't think it's near as bad as some people say it is, but it does undercut some. There are a lot of good scenes in this movie, but there's also a lot of things that could have just been done better with the characters and stuff. Like the story is alright and the action is pretty good. We got a few good action scenes. You got that scene on the racetrack with Whiplash. It's pretty awesome. I love that scene. I've always liked that one quite a bit. And you got that fight scene between Tony and Rhodey at the party, and that's actually my favorite scene in the whole movie. I just love that moment, and especially the part when he's like really, really drunk and he's like saying to play a song that he can kick his friend's butt to and stuff, and he like starts laughing as he says it and everything. It just absolutely hilarious moment. One of my favorite moments in the entire movie is that scene right there. But I also like some of the ending. The ending was a little underwhelming and stuff. They didn't do a lot with Whiplash to make him a very good villain. He had no character development. He didn't really have much of a personality really either. He just wasn't very well done. All he really cares about in the movie is his bird, and he's not threatening or anything like that. I didn't really care for him very much. The only thing that was cool is he is kind of a strong villain, so he does put up a good fight with the characters, but that's really the only thing about him. He's one of those early MCU bland villains, which the MCU still sometimes do have the bland villains nowadays. But they've gotten a lot better in recent years, and this is definitely one of the worst of the original villains and everything. But there are other things that I do love about this movie too, though. I think the cast are, for the most part, all really good. You got Robert Downey Jr. back, and he's just as good as he always is as Iron Man. He's never bad in any of these movies. Then Don Cheadle takes over playing Rhodey in this one, and I actually like Don Cheadle way more than I do Terrence Howard. I have nothing against Terrence Howard as an actor. He's great in a lot of other movies. I just think Don Cheadle fits the role of Rhodey better, and maybe it's also because I'm so used to him playing Rhodey by this point that I can't picture anybody else playing him and everything. And when I rewatch the first Iron Man, it is always kind of weird seeing Terrence Howard in the role and everything. But I do love Don Cheadle and everything. And then this is also the movie where we get introduced to Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, played by Scarlett Johansson. And while she doesn't get a lot to do in the movie till the third act, she's still really great, and it's fun to watch her. I mean, she's Scarlett Johansson being awesome and stuff, so what do you expect? And I love her little hallway fight scene in the third act and stuff. I love that moment. It just shows how awesome she is at kicking butt and everything, and looking good doing it and stuff. But there's also a thing that I'm mixed on. I think she looks great. She's Scarlett Johansson, so of course she does. But I don't like how they over-sexualized her in this movie. They really didn't need to over-sexualize her like they did, but I still really enjoyed seeing her in this movie and everything. She was really good and everything. A good choice for Black Widow, and she gets better as a character, though. Like, I think this is probably my least favorite performance of her as a character, because she's better in pretty much all the other movies, really. But I still liked her in this, and it was a cool introduction to her. It's also crazy looking back at these movies and seeing how young these actors look and stuff too. It's hard to believe it. I mean, it's been 12 years since this movie came out and stuff, but it's just crazy looking at how different they looked back then compared to the more recent MCU stuff. And there's other moments in the movie that I love too. I like the scene when he's talking with Nick Fury at the donut shop and he first finds out that Natasha is Black Widow. I love that, because she's like undercover throughout most of it. And that's why she doesn't really do a lot in here, because she didn't really have to fight until the end of it and everything. But when we find out about that and we start seeing more of Black Widow's personality, that's when I really start liking her. But I love that whole scene when him and Nick Fury are talking and stuff, and then you get the other part where they're talking about his dad and all that, and then it goes to the scene where he sees the video of what his dad left behind and what he's hoping for with that Tony will do with his legacy and stuff. I love that and everything. That was just a really great character moment for Tony, and one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. But there's also a lot of things that I'm kind of mixed on. Like there are too many plot lines going on. They could have either dropped some of them or something. They should have dropped at least maybe a couple of them. Focus mostly on either focusing on the stuff with the weapons or focus on Tony dying and stuff. I think they should have focused on one or the other a little bit more. And but I actually think that weapon stuff was a little bit more interesting, because you knew Tony wasn't going to die. They weren't going to kill him off in his second movie. But I like the stuff with weapon stuff, and I think that if it would have been written even better, that Justin Hammer and Whiplash could have been better villains. Justin Hammer is a character I've wanted to see them bring back, because I think that they could give him a redemption, and maybe they will. I've heard rumors that he might be back in one of the upcoming shows. I'm not for sure, and part of it is he's played by Sam Rockwell, and it kind of felt like they just kind of wasted him here. I love Sam Rockwell. He's one of those character actors that every time I see a movie that he's in, I try to watch it just because I really like him, and he's just really fun actor to watch. He don't always play the most likable characters, but he's always great at playing unlikable bad guys, and that's why I like him so much. And this movie, he just kind of feels like a whiny version of Tony Stark. He's not really threatening or anything. He's not terrible or anything. He just isn't as good of a villain. And I think they had planned on doing stuff with him later, and they never ended up going through with it, so that's why we didn't get too much of him, and he kind of had a little bit of a backlash. But I do hope we get to see him again and everything. I think they are about due to give him another time to shine. If they can do it with Abomination from The Incredible Hulk, we need Justin Hammer back and something to get redeemed too. And like I said, Mickey Rourke is fine in his role. He does the best with what he has to work with, but the character is so badly written that there really isn't much great about him, and he's not terrible, but he's not great. He has a weird accent too. Like, I don't know why he used the accent that he did and everything. It just, to me, it didn't work. They could have just done so much better with Whiplash and everything, and you could tell that he wasn't fully into being in the movie and everything. He's talked about it a lot, about how bad it was afterwards and everything, so he didn't have a good experience, so his performance wasn't the best. And I feel like this movie could have been better. I think if they would have if Jon Favreau could have talked them into releasing it in 2011 instead of 2010, it would have worked out better. But for what it is. I think that this is a fine movie. It's not the best movie in the Iron Man trilogy or the best movie in the MCU, but it's still an okay time and everything. It's watchable, and when you're watching Phase 1, it's one that's always kind of fun to watch. It's not one of the best Phase 1 movies, but not absolutely terrible either. So I'd say I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It could have been a lot better, but it is a big step down from the first one. I was going to get a 7.5, but I decided just to go ahead and do a 7, because the more I think about it, it does have a lot more issues, but I do still enjoy it for what it is and everything. I'm never really terribly bored with it. I just get frustrated because I feel like they could have done better stuff with certain characters. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of Iron Man 2, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.
Yeah.